Hi, I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And you're listening to Lady Parts TV, the podcast.
Whee!
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Nice to see you all again, or talk to you
nice
all
to be
again.
heard by you all again.
Hi. We know we skipped last week, but we have, in addition to the podcast this week, we have a special International Women's Day, even though I resent the idea of International Women's Day, because really,
every day.
We're 51% of the population. I don't think we need a day.
No, I think there should be an International Men's Day, and that
And
should
the rest
be the
of the
only
year.
time they're allowed to speak.
Exactly. High five. But because... and this is why we skipped last week's podcast, because we were very busy, because we were counting ballots, because, as you may know, we're members of the wonderful organization Women Film Critics Circle. And this is on International Women's Day, which is Monday, I believe. We are releasing our awards for this year. And we decided that we're going to do a vlog and tell you all about who won, who we wanted to win.
Well, though in several cases it was one and the same.
Several cases. And use the opportunity to tell you a lot about quite a few movies that we've been binging on that we had not told you about before. So do make sure to follow us on all social media, and of course subscribe to our mailing list on ladypartstv.com so you can be notified when the vlog is up. Okay, let's start with today's stats. We tallied 37 primetime shows, out of which written or co-written by women, 19, which is 51%, which is so fitting since we're 51% of the population. And directed by a woman, 11, which is 30%. And we're going to start actually with a giveaway. So, we love giving you gifts. And this time, we're giving out 5 digital copies of a new film called Pixie. It's available on digital and on demand right now, and it is starring Olivia Cooke, who you may remember from Bates Motel.
She's so darling.
She was the one dragging around an
oxygen
tank.
And actually, the older she gets, the cuter she gets.
Yep. Also, Alec Baldwin with an Irish accent. And the movie is about Pixie Hardy, who is trying to avenge her mother's death. And I don't know how that has to do with a heist, but that's what she does to avenge her mother's death.
Because it will give her enough money to leave her small town life behind.
I see. Anyway, something goes wrong, and she and a pair of misfits. I think Alec Baldwin is one of them. I think. No?
I don't think so, because it says they're.
Right, he might be the gangster.
He might be the bad guy.
Okay, so they need to run from a gang of criminal priests and nuns. It sounds insane.
Anybody who went to Catholic school would probably think all priests and nuns are criminal. That's what my friends say.
But we saw the trailer, and once we realized the movie's Irish, that made a lot more sense.
Of course.
It actually looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it does. It looks very funny. It's not my kind of movie, but it looks like a very special caper movie. It
looks like fun, and she looks adorable. I really enjoy watching her, and I think it's one of those quirky British comedy, adventure, thriller, or something, / It's
not a thriller, I don't think. I think it's a caper.
Well, they describe it as a hilarious and thrilling adventure.
Okay.
Anyway, so Pixie, if it sounds like something you might be interested in, we are giving out 5 digital copies. All you need to do is email us at ladypartstv@gmail.com or send us a private message on Instagram.
The first 5.
The first 5 to say they want it, get it. We're that easy.
I've heard that about you.
So as soon as you hear this, make sure to send me a message. If you are not one of the lucky 5 to get the free copy, check it out. Maybe you'll want to rent it out. It's called Pixie.
All right.
Next
and now there's a new. It says short review, and the review will probably be as long as the show was.
It was about 10 minutes.
It's called Girl Night Stand Chapter 2, available on YouTube. And if you haven't seen Chapter 1, you have to watch Chapter 1 to make Chapter 2 make a little bit more sense.
Why not?
Anyway, why not? It takes hardly any time. And it's starring and created by Jenna Lorenzo, who did Les Bomb. She's so darling. I think she's so funny. I think she's so cute.
She has a very unique voice. She's very good at writing dialogue.
Yes.
She has a very funny outlook on life. She's very original.
Yes, she
and
is.
I really enjoy watching her.
And I think she's a good actress. And starring with her in this part 2, chapter 2, is Meryl Jones.
And in chapter 1, by the way.
Oh, yes, right. It's Meryl Jones Williams, who's also excellent. They have nice chemistry. It's just a little trifle, except that, as it turns out, she did chapter 1 to help her get financing for Les Bomb. And
it kind of took a life of its own.
Yes, I'm so happy because actually I've liked both, the 2 episodes of Girl Night Stand better than I liked Les Bomb. So she's going to be making a series out of this. And as I was writing it, I said, well, you got to have a series. You can't just, otherwise, what is it,
Well, it will probably be a web series, but...
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Yeah.
But, and it's a woman who's craving some kind of connection during COVID, reaches out to her ex-girlfriend. And in the first part, she meets her ex-girlfriend.
She meets her then, who became her girlfriend, and she was actually not even a lesbian. She was her first.
Right.
In the first one.
Right.
By the way, Jenna Lorenzo is one of those women who does it all. She writes, she directs, she stars in, and
as it turns out,
necessity is the mother of invention. In this case, she needed music for the short movie, and she didn't have any budget left, so she just wrote the music herself. So she's one of those people who just says, "Oh, I need music. Let's write it myself."
I really like her voice. Not singing voice, or just the way.
Well,
she
not that
thinks.
you don't like her singing voice,
just the way she thinks, and she's very cute and has excellent timing. I enjoyed them both, and I'm waiting for more.
And I'm waiting for more. Literally waiting to see what else. She's very young.
Yes.
I anticipate great things for her.
Absolutely.
I hope she can get everything she wants to do financed because she is a very good voice for our community. Mm-hmm. So this is called Girl Night Stand, Chapter 2, and both chapters are free on YouTube. Check them out. Okay, now. Take a cup
Deep
of
breath.
coffee, sit back, because Mimi's going to have a lot to say now.
Well, maybe not too much.
Oh, you should.
Okay.
You can hear it in
I don't
voice.
know if you remembered our first season review of For All Mankind on Apple TV Plus, but it was a rave. Now,
it's a double rave.
We have just finished binging the second season, and oh my God, I didn't think it would be possible, but it's even better.
Now, let me just make sure to tell you that for you, it's not available to binge. They are releasing it 1 episode at a time. It did premiere already February 19th. You can watch it either every week or wait and binge on it. We finished it in we watched at least 2 episodes a day.
Oh,
yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think we watched, a couple of times we watched a third.
It's only 10 episodes, but it was one of those things where you couldn't get enough of it, but you were afraid of, it's going to be over.
It was one of those. Anyway, it was created by Ronald D. Moore for you Battlestar Galactica fans, and Matt Wolpert and Ben Nedivy. And it stars
a whole host of fantastic
women, and the
and a couple of good men,
and adorable Joel Kinnaman, who I find to be so attractive, Michael Dolman, and Sarah Jones, Chantel Van Santen, Jodie Balfour, Ren Schmidt, who we adore, Sonia Walger, who is a god to us, and she's she's just amazing in this.
I know.
Megan Leathers, who is a smaller part than most of the other women, but she's also excellent. They're all wonderful. And in case you don't remember, the first season was an alternative universe to 1961 and the space... 1969, sorry. And the space race, they beat us to the moon.
The Russians.
They. When I say they, it's always the Russians because...
it's your forefathers.
It even becomes, yes, my motherland. It even becomes more intense because then it becomes Cold War, and it's, how many... decades do we go?
Well, this is the first season was in the late 60s, and now we're in the early 80s.
Okay, so because they beat us to the moon, we had to beat them by sending the first woman to the moon, and the women become basically the space program. They're
engineers. They're in charge.
Head of NASA.
Yeah.
It's
Well, if
really
in the
wonderful.
in the first season it was about them as astronauts. In the second season, it's 20, not 10, 20, but 10, at least 10 years later.
Yeah, we have
they're
a
the
huge
leaders.
base. Yes.
They're the decision makers, and mostly it's the women,
Oh,
and
so
they
exciting.
are
They are brilliant
tastic.
and kick-ass, and it's just thrilling.
There's also a lesbian plot, which
Yes.
is coming back in the second season.
It's just so good. It's just so good that after we finished it this season, we started watching regular series. It was like, oh,
It's kind of like children's
this
shows.
is so
Mediocre.
So Mickey Mouse.
I
So
know. Because this show is, besides the fact that it's acted brilliantly, it's written so
writing
well.
is so sensational.
It is one of the best things I've ever seen on television or any streaming service. It's
and the way it's
mind-blowing.
shot, and I mean, you really do feel they're on the moon. They have a big station there now.
And in case you haven't seen it yet, I'm really not into astronaut stuff.
I am.
But this is not, I mean, it is about that, but it's about the relationships. It's about the humanity. It's about, they just happen to do it involving space. And I do like the science. The science is very interesting. And they don't talk down to you.
No.
It's a very smart show, and they're not afraid to be very smart. They're not afraid that you're going to be like, I'm going to turn this off. No, because it's so compelling, because the people are so compelling. And the
Yes, and
stories
except
are so
for
good.
the Russians, there are no bad guys. They're all
And even
just
the Russians,
terrific.
you
Even the
learn to
Russians,
see that
yes,
actually
some of them actually have some humanity.
Excuse me.
Yes.
More than that, I
Yes.
think that actually the whole point of the
Most
season
of you
is to
see
show
that most
you
of the people are different from the politics of their
I will
country.
say this again. I don't know who said this, but I heard this line and I really love it, which says, "The people want peace, and if the governments will only move aside and let them have it."
Yes.
The people really are most of the time, if you talk enough to somebody, you'll realize that there's a lot more commonality than not.
Yes.
But
as Joe Biden keeps saying.
Yes, but it's true, because we all get
But Joe Biden's wrong.
we all get
turns out.
stuck. We all get stuck in very specific sides, but really we have a lot more in common than we don't. And I love it because this show actually shows that this year.
The humanity on this show, I think, is
the
what
humanity.
makes it. Oh, yes. It really is what makes this show great.
Yes.
The individual stories,
The camaraderie.
It's
the sisterhood.
the sisterhood, indeed. And what I love about it is it just is. Mm-hmm. There's no controversy
try.
about women
No.
being the leaders.
No.
It's
Yes,
and they
I'm
weave
tired of
truth
showing,
in with. I love the way they wove Ronald Reagan into
Yes, they
it.
did a deep fake on Ronald Reagan.
They really, really did. It was great.
This is
Anyway, I can't recommend it more highly.
No.
And even if you say, I don't care things about space.
It's
and
not about space.
it-
I mean, it is
well,
about
it
space,
is about
but it
space, and
is
it's
about so much more than space.
because a lot of things happen on space, in space.
But it's the same thing like when we watched The Queen's Gambit. I couldn't care less about chess. It wasn't about chess.
No.
The milieu was chess, but
It's
it was about the
people.
stories, about the people, the humanity, relationships, which are the things that I care about. So the milieu is definitely space. There's a lot about space, but that's not what you're going to be drawn to mostly. I mean, unless you're a space kind of person.
And the heroics.
Yeah.
I mean, their heroics just make my heart beat faster because they are selfless.
Just do yourself a favor and watch this. It's just the best, one of the best things you'll see all year.
And if you don't really want to pay for Apple, although I would wait until the end of the season, and I would then binge last season and this season, and then at the end of next year, get it for a month.
Although let me give
there's a lot of
let me give the case for why you should get Apple TV Plus. Apple TV Plus is not a network like CBS
which
or like
died,
HBO.
by the way, got
yes, but they put it on
CBS,
Paramount, which is also something that already
we
has a
still
network that you have to
right.
pay for
Paramount
because it's
is
cable.
not a network.
No, but they do have a network.
They have a very small network.
Well,
it's not like
nevertheless.
CBS.
Right, but many of those things are already entities that exist. Some of them you already even are paying for, and they're demanding that you pay more.
Pay more, like on Hulu.
Apple TV Plus doesn't. Secondly, most of these things cost quite a bit of money. Apple TV, I think, is reasonably priced.
Like $4.99 or $5.99 or something.
And they have a lot of original content.
Very good content.
All top tier content.
Yes.
You're not going to find lame stuff on there. So actually, Apple TV Plus is one of those streaming services I do think, like Acorn, like Hulu, like Netflix, that actually deserves for you to look at.
Yes, absolutely.
So, For All Mankind, second season,
and
a
For
huge
All Womankind.
rave. Yeah.
For All Mankind is very much for all womankind.
And especially in this case.
Yes. Something that I want to emphasize also about For All Mankind is that many of the women are not women that we know that well.
Actresses, you mean?
Actresses, yes. Chantal Van Sant just is... Van Santen, right. She I don't remember ever seeing her in anything else, and I just adore her.
And Ren Schmidt, whom we knew a little bit.
We'd seen her in a couple of things. Oh my God,
she
her
blew
range.
my mind.
She is so funny, and she is so strong, and she is so wonderful. Most of the women, other than Sonia Walger,
were complete unknown to us.
Were almost unknown to us, and they are now among our
love.
favorite actresses.
I'm in love.
And Sonia Walger, I love even more than I ever loved her before.
Yes.
And she's kind of playing against type. Really. That's one of the things I really loved about it, is bringing these women to the fore.
Yes, I love that they didn't go with big names.
Yes.
I love that they brought these women that were complete unknown to us anyway, and showed us what amazing talent we have out there that you know.
Besides Nicole Kidman and
Reese Witherspoon.
Who, by the way, I adore. But they are so prolifically out there that...
it's great.
Anyway, it's another reason to watch.
Alrighty then. Now we're going to something very different. It's a docuseries. It's 4-part docuseries, which is available on Topic, another streaming service that is becoming more and more interesting lately. And this is called Trans and Trumpland. It's directed by, I'm so sorry in advance, it's going to be hard to say, Tony Zosherefatain. Now, Tony himself is a trans man, and this was shot during the time of Trump, but it's even still current because all those places that he went to are places that are very much still Trump strongholds. And in the time of Trump, transphobia and discrimination against trans people was on the rise. And he speaks to 4 different people, 4 different trans people in 4 different states that have been affected by discriminatory laws. And there's a lot of intersectionality because of the races. And for example, one of the episodes that I watched was about a Latina immigrant. And it was equally about her immigration status as it was about her trans status, and about how they compounded each other. It was also very interesting because in the first episode he talks to a 13-year-old trans boy who is affected by the bathroom bill that was, about schools and not allowing him to go.
North Carolina?
Yeah. And what's also interesting because the host and director of the documentary is a trans man himself, it's interesting to hear the conversation between him and the boy about the differences between his experiences when he was his age, whenever it was a couple of decades ago, and how it is now, and how things have changed, and at the same time, how are they still the same?
Yes.
It was very well made. I really recommend it. It's infuriating, as everything that has to do with Trump is unfortunately. But it's another window, and a very good window, into the trans experience, especially in those places that are very hard to live in if you're anything but, a white Christian man. I highly recommend it. It was very, very good. So it's called Trans in Trumpland. It is available on Topic. Finally, this is a gem for me, and I love that we're talking about it on the week when we just saw Jane Fonda winning her Lifetime Achievement Award at the Golden Globes, and I hope you saw it, and if you saw it and you saw the package that they put together.
Oh, it was so wonderful. I forgot how much I loved her until I saw that package. I mean, I knew I loved her, but I really forgot the breadth of her body of work.
Yeah.
Which is so sensational and so meaningful.
Right. So there's the body of work, there's her talent and everything that she's done over the years, which is some of our favorite things ever. And then there's her activism, which, now she's focused on climate change, the fire drills, being arrested every other day until COVID happened, of course. And
she's amazing.
But before this, she took a lot of personal hits when she took a stand against the Vietnam War. And
Before it was fashionable.
And she was followed by the FBI for years. Under surveillance. Yes. And she was, assassinated by the media. Her character was assassinated by the media, and people hated her and because she dared to speak her truth. And so this film, which is a remastering of a movie from 1972, it's called FTA, which is a satire
and an acronym.
It's an acronym that pokes fun at the Fun Travel Adventure Army recruitment slogan. And when they wanted to be clean about it, they said "Free the Army," but actually it was "Fuck the Army." It's going to premiere. Actually, when you're listening to this, it's already available on Kino Marquee. Which is
another service that we just love.
They're putting out like some of my favorite films of the year so far. They recover gems that have been forgotten. They're an art house online. I love them.
You can hardly find
even in New York City
in the best of times now. An art house anywhere.
So this was directed by Francine Parker, and it's led by Jane Fonda. Who is joined by Donald Sutherland and a few other singers, actors, comedians who toured during the Vietnam War. They toured the Southeast,
Pacific Rim,
right, in Hawaii, putting on a show that was supposed to be a counter show for the Bob Hope very pro-war show that was
pro-war, pro-girly,
sexist, sexist. To entertain the troops. They were there not to necessarily entertain the troops, although it was entertaining and it was presented in an entertaining way. But they were there because apparently something that we didn't even know about.
They kept it on the DL for sure. The Pentagon.
We all knew that there was an anti-war movement in the U.S. that took place during the war.
Yes.
But I didn't know that there was an anti-war movement in the military.
Yes.
Mostly
among the enlisted.
Yes. They tried to do everything to put it down. They also tried to prevent them from being able to see the show when the show came to their bases. They didn't let them perform on the base, so they had to spring up all these various makeshift like coffee houses and things. They would perform the show twice and more in one night just to get everybody in small spaces so they could see it. And they were giving voice to those soldiers and
they were
how
quite
they
radical,
very radical. And this documentary both shows the show itself, pieces of the show, and interviews with the soldiers, the men and women, talking about not only how their sentiments about the war and their disillusionment with the war, but also racism in the military, sexism in the military.
Ever was it thus?
Yeah, it was a little long. It was about 15 minutes too long for us.
There are too many things.
I felt that those extra 15 minutes took away from the punch that the movie could have had otherwise. It still had it, but it just that it didn't need that extra time.
There was a lot of repetition.
But it was excellent. If you are also specifically fascinated by that time in American history, which I am, then it's
I lived through it.
Then it really is a treasure that I didn't even know about. It will make you adore Jane Fonda even more if that's possible. It's
very enlightening, though, as to how the enlisted man felt, and thousands of men and women would come to these shows.
Yeah. This re-release also has a new intro from Jane Fonda that was shot now in the days of COVID. You can see that because she's doing it from her office. And
explains a lot of things.
Yes, she puts it in context. And then later on, right now you can stream it on Kino Marquee. Later on, when they release it for home purchase, there will also be a special interview with Jane Fonda that was shot quite a while ago, at least 10 years ago, if not longer.
Also a wonderful interview.
Illuminating. To me, it was almost more fascinating than the movie, just to hear her talk about her experiences and things that we didn't know about. So that will be as a special bonus feature on the home edition.
She is just a singular woman. She is, and you know what I didn't realize is that she started doing her aerobics tapes, her exercise tapes to fund
the movement.
The movement.
Yeah. And
all the proceeds, every penny she made,
and it was the highest grossing, I think, still to this day.
Every penny she made went into the anti-war movement.
Well, and I think that also, she was retired for a while from movies, and she came back because she needed money to fund something else she was trying to push. So she's an amazing woman.
Yes, she is.
And I will say this again, I've said this so many times, if you have not read her autobiography, her memoir, My Life So Far, you have to. There's an honesty to her that is unlike. I mean, and you can tell it gets harder for her when she talks about things that are harder for her, but she still talks about them. She's very vulnerable.
So vulnerable. Yes,
she talks about things that are uncomfortable for her, that she's ashamed of or embarrassed about. And she does. I love her so much.
Yeah, me too.
We love you, Jane Fonda.
We love you, Jane Fonda. The world loves Jane Fonda pretty much.
Yeah, but who cares? We love Jane Fonda.
Who cares? Jane Fonda cares.
Anyway, so this is FTA, available on Kino Marquee, and we highly recommend it. And with that, we will wrap up this podcast and invite you to join us on International Women's Day for our vlog with our awards of the Women Film Critics Circle. Make sure to follow us so you can see the vlog when it's up.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us.
Have a great week.
Yeah. Bye.
Be safe.
Bye.